Phoenix Union is extremely proud to continue our partnership with the George Washington Carver Museum and Cultural Center. We have been in the Valley for nearly 125 years, and it has been almost 100 years to the date that we purchased the Carver property, built the beautiful school that served generations of amazing African-American students and staff and families. And although the school has been closed for decades, we believe very strongly that the Carver Museum is a critical asset to our city, a place for us to remember our past and to build a healthy future together. We, Phoenix Union, are committed to fully supporting Carver so that it thrives for generations to come.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Matthew Whitaker, and it's such a pleasure to join with you today to talk about George Washington Carver Museum and Cultural Center. Carver, like many schools of its ilk across the United States, played a key role in creating a generation of educated leaders who went forth after the school was closed and infused the Black community, and quite frankly, the entire community, with a level of excellence and commitment to social uplift that is hard to follow. Arizona was definitely a place of hope for migrants, but it was also a place of struggle because they came here because they were recruited to work. And in that sense, they were more fluid and open work opportunities, but it was just as segregated. And one of the areas that it was very segregated was in terms of education. We know that the territorial legislature met first in 1909, and one of the first things that it did was segregate schools. Arizona, quite frankly, gave local areas the option to segregate or not segregate, but the vast majority of the cities in Arizona did segregate. And by statehood in 1912, that was firmly fixed. So those Black people that were here and those that migrated here were forced to go into segregated educational environments. In Phoenix, in this area near 415 East Grant Street, most Black students, and quite frankly a substantive number of Latino students, went to Phoenix Union High School District, but were segregated within the classrooms. That's in Phoenix. They were segregated in Tucson, they were segregated in Flagstaff, they were segregated in Yuma, all over the state. And what do I mean by that? At the time, within a classroom, teachers would put a sheet up in the middle of the class. And on one side of the sheet were the white students, and on the other side of the sheet were the Black and brown students. In some cases, the Black and brown students would sit outside the classroom in the hall, and they would have to listen. Mind you, they were responsible for the same material, even though they weren't being taught that material. They got hand-me-down books, sometimes with messages from former white students, knowing that the Black students would get the hand-me-down books that were tawdry and insulting. And so it was a difficult environment. So those Black parents pushed for a better environment.
We lived where the airport is now, was our property. Then we built there, and then we built more.
What kind of farming did you do?
Cotton. Now, yes, I picked cotton and all of that, but the hardest thing was getting things ready for the market. Now, that's the world's worst job for a farmer's daughter. Pretty soon I was going to school, and the kids made fun, but I made all ones, the A's now. And Miss Wells, she was the teacher, she said, don't worry. But she didn't know that we couldn't bring no poor works home. Not if we wanted to sit down to eat. And that's the way we live. My first integration was going to the college at Tempe. I wanted to be a teacher. By the time I got to be a junior, they were sending me in as when a teacher was absent. Most of them were bigger than me, but that was all right too.
During the time that she went to ASU, none of the blacks could eat at the cafeteria and anything. They always had to stay out on the lawn, and they were pretty much segregated completely in the college. And actually, all the grades were lowered because you were black as well. If you got an A, you automatically got a C. And it's their club, which is a black student union, is called the Dunbar Club.
I used to tell them they're mine, and I did. I felt that way. When you get off of that bus, you're mine. And they called me Miss White. I said, don't call me Miss White, call me Miss Chin. Mr. Landry was upset with that. I said, but Mr. Landry. When they call me Miss White, they get all stiff, and I don't want that. I want us to be a family. One mother came, you can't tell me he's yours. I said, he's not mine by birth, but he's mine by the clock. Mama had a special pillow because I had a brother who was slow. And that's what made me start working with the handicapped, because he was handicapped. I went to the superintendent because it was time, and they were getting they asked some of us what we wanted, if we wanted to keep the class that we had. And I asked them, what about these children that not getting any? Mr. Loper was the superintendent, and he looked at me, he said, you know, I've been waiting for you to come out with that, because every time I went there, I saw who you were working with. And I said, well, somebody has to. The mothers have to work, the daddies have to work. So I said, who's gonna do it? And he said, you. One little boy was all crippled. He couldn't walk. So I caught him by around the waist and said, come on, you can do it. Come on, we can do it. Do what I do. And I started him walking. And his mother came to school and she said, Miss White, how did you do that? I've been trying all his life trying to get him to walk. I said, well, he has to keep up with me to get the ball. She'd never had anybody to take any time with her because she's slow. And she said, I want to thank you. Can she stay yours? So I said, go ask Mr. Landry. And he said, well, if she agrees to do it, it's all right. So I told him, I said, she's a child who just needs help because her mother is not able to help her and she has no father. So he said, and you taking it up, huh? I said, well, yeah. Some of the teachers were thought I was well, I was country, but they thought I was kind of stupid. And until they found out when we went somewhere, some of them couldn't take their kids. I could take mine. And another thing too, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, but we also say this, and I had a little prayer, it was about 4 or 5 lines, and I said, and we say that. He said, I didn't see it, did I? You know what, Miss Jenny? I said, no, what I do wrong this time? He said, whatever it was you were doing wrong, you keep on doing it.
My name is Calvin C. Good. My family came to Arizona when I was 10 months old and first settled in Gila Bend, Arizona, which is about 60 miles from here. My mother's parents had come out earlier, following the crops and so forth. And then I can remember my dad saying that the hail knocked out his crop, so he decided to come on out to Arizona. When I graduated from the 8th grade, they gave me a diploma that said I could go to any high school in the state. But in Arizona, we had a state law that the school boards could exclude students of African descent, so they did. And it was quite an experience. After my junior year, the doctor examined me and thought I had a heart condition and thought maybe I wouldn't live but about a year. So the family thought I ought to come down to Phoenix, a lower climate. So we came down to Phoenix, and then I went to school at Carver High School and graduated from there in 1945. In Prescott, they were integrated because there were only a few African Americans there. So they didn't want to build a school, so they let them come, and they had that option. In Phoenix, they were all segregated. There's Bethune, and there's Dunbar, Booker T. Schools named after African Americans, so they were segregated. I went to Phoenix College 2 years, so my degree was in general business at Phoenix College. And after Phoenix College, they gave me a $100 scholarship. And I took that $100 and went to ASU, and it took care of my books and my fees. You can imagine what it is today. You can't do it now. Graduated from Carver in 45, graduated from Phoenix College in 47, and in 49 from AS, it was called Arizona State College at Tempe at that time, in 49. And then later on in 72, I went back and got the master's.
My name is Paul Allen Taliercio, and I am the resident curator here at the George Washington Carver Museum and Cultural Center. What I really hope is that when the alumni come this fall, that I make them proud, because I really want to share their story and bring the lessons that they learned and share it with the community. That's what's really important here. Honestly, every time I come in here, just the stories of the students and the teachers, that inspires me. When I'm going through our files and our archives of everything we have, and I'm seeing the notes that the teachers wrote about their students, or I'm reading their experience of just their everyday life, to me it's an inspiration, and that really it's like a fire underneath me. It's the drive that inspires me to do all of this.
And so it's important to note that these individuals, if you look at those alums, if you look at the graduates of Carver, their legacies speak to the importance of their education at Carver. In fact, some talked about Carver functioning almost like a little small college. The level of expectation. The expectation wasn't just academic excellence, that was there. The expectation was proper grammar, courteousness, dependability, loyalty. But more importantly, the expectation was that you would use whatever resources that you acquired when you left Carver on behalf of your community. You would leverage those resources on behalf of your community. And there are others that whose names don't appear on buildings downtown, like Barbara Crane, who is an alum of Carver, who has served this institution valiantly for decades. Tommy Williams, who has served this institution. Loretta Willis, who has served this institution. I could go on and on because there's so many different people that have upheld this institution, and by doing so, they've upheld our community.